Hello and welcome to a special roundtable edition of Flesh and Pod. My name is Jordan. I'm joined as always by Logan and actually with a couple of other guests today. I'm joined by Elaine, Matt, and Tommy. We've brought a bunch of people together to talk about different viewpoints and Flesh and Blood and where we're at, especially after Fab 2.0 and the Pro Tour. And there's a lot of hotness going on right now. So I wanted to go around in a circle. Everybody do a quick hit of who you are. I'm sure most people have heard of most of you because you're all wonderful, fabulous people, but let's go around in a quick hit. I'm just going to go in the order that I see you in my Discord call. So why don't you tell us who you are, where we can find you, and quick little blurb about yourself. Az might be on mute. Oh no! Wah, 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 wah.
Fuck!
God!
Oh, see, it was all part of the experience.
Seriously. Damn it, Az!
Kid gets a brand new podcast, doesn't even locate the mute button on his thing. Wow.
The key answer is to never turn on mute. Just fucking say it. Like, just do it.
Rookie move right there, Bucko.
Fantastic. But yeah, I'm Az from Go Again Gaming, a small little YouTube channel across the pond from these guys in the UK. I like the sort of casual and jank aspect of Flesh and Blood, the social aspect, all the community members, all these folks on this pod today, and just loving life with the game and the experiences and the stories that come out of that, really. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome, Elaine.
I'm Elaine Hamontree. You might know me from Twitter, but I have a new channel coming with Melody Like soon. I just love Flesh and Blood. It's my first TCG, and I fully dove all the way in. The community is one of my favorite parts, but I also love the competitive side, traveling for tournaments. So
Elaine is one of the people that I feel like I know only because I see everything she tweets, and that is definitely one of the weird parasocial things about Fab Twitter. Is like I feel like I know everybody because of Twitter. But Matt, I don't think most people are going to have a problem recognizing at least your voice. But who are you and what's your deal?
Who are you and what's your deal? That's usually that's what I hear every time I enter any kind of public space, frankly. Coffee shop, anything. Who are you? What's your deal? My name is Matt, aka Flake, and I am a broadcaster by trade and by choice and possibly by success. But we'll see how that sort of goes out. And I have been told that I talk too much, so I will curtail that.
Well played.
Tommy?
I'm Tommy. Tommy Fresh of the Fresh and Buds podcast. I have a podcast where I talk about all kinds of things, flesh and blood. Whether it's the nitty gritty or just hanging out talking about some casual stuff like I just did with Az not too long ago. That's it. I guess the only thing else to say is the acclaims I've gotten for the podcasts, and I have them right here. One guy on Reddit said, "This is the most boring thing he's ever listened to." So, it's...
Hey.
Wow,
that's not bad.
To be the best at something, I'll take it.
Dude, that's really good.
That's pretty great,
engagement.
honestly. Yeah.
Tommy, that's engagement, buddy. And
oh, yeah.
Let's be real. You know what? I will say this. Out of all the things that you post, I would like for you to one day just pull out one of my quotes off of the comments, which is usually... What do I always say, Tommy? Is it usually "I love you very much," or is it "You're my favorite person"? It's one of those two things.
It's usually first in my heart. The love between us is just so much, and I think most people are jealous, but whatever. Get good, I guess. But
awesome, Logan. If people are listening to this, then they have definitely heard your voice before. But
I don't think so. But I am also probably the least recognizable member of this crew by quite a bit because everybody else is just way better than me. But I can only finish second at ProQuest. It's now established. But I'm Logan Peterson. I'm 1/3 of the power trio of Flesh and Pod, and my claim to fame now is that my boss decided in a fucking meeting today to play like the first 7 minutes of our last podcast for everybody, in which I said fuck at least 6 times, and also talked about paying somebody to dominate me, because that's what Bravo does. You pay Bravo to dominate you. So that was a very awkward team meeting, but we got through it.
My name's Jordan. I'm on Flesh and Pod, and that doesn't happen to me in my daily life because work-life balance.
Well, I made the mistake of saying why I go to different places and do different things, and they're like, "Oh, let's fucking listen to it. What's it called?" And I'm like,
Well, it's a euphemism for FAP, so that's the good place to start. Yeah.
They didn't get that one right away. It was afterwards that somebody went, you do realize that it spells FAP, right? I'm like, and our listeners call themselves FAPers, so we're already on board. We understand what's going on here.
It's already a low-key disaster. Anyway.
It really is.
The goal of this, we have a variety of different viewpoints in here. I think Logan and I call ourselves competitive hobbyists. Like Az talks a lot about his love of the casual competitive janky side of the game. Elaine and Matt and Tommy are definitely more competitive oriented. Matt sees it at the highest level. Tommy and Elaine are way better at this game than Logan and I are by a considerable margin. And then Elaine is apparently also a mixologist and is also an accomplished cosplayer as well. So we kind of hit all the different angles here, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Suddenly Elaine's like my top 7 people, and I don't understand how that happened. She just had to say mixology, and that just fixed it. So
it usually works, right?
Yeah, that's a hell of a thing to say.
Yeah.
So let's just start with when we coalesced this call, we talked about things that make us happy about where Flesh and Blood is. We talked about some things that we're nervous about and some things that make us not so happy. So I've kind of structured this as a little bit of a compliment sandwich, a very corporate way of going about it. And so let's start with like the good part of that sandwich. The Pro Tour we just came off of, it was an absolute high. I'm just personally now getting around to listening to coverage because I was there. All of us interacted with coverage or the Pro Tour in one way or another, whether it be like as a spectator or being physically in the room. So let's go around and just quick hits. Talk to me about your favorite parts of the PT, how you engage with it, and what you're looking forward to in terms of organized play going forward. Matt, I'll start with you because you just had an episode come out that kind of condensed your thoughts into like a form that was really well said. So why don't you set the bar for us here and tell us from your seat what was great about the PT? What are you looking forward to going forward?
What was great about the PT, frankly, was that there's multiple layers. I'll just go briefly over them. The initial and most obvious one is the fact that it was a success from numbers perspective, from the fact that everybody had a great time, and I think that is incredibly important because it cuts right to the core, to the nucleus of what card gaming is all about. It's just people coming together and having a good time. It had nothing to do with metas. It had nothing to do with win rates or championships or prizes or money or anything like that, because if that's all it was, you could have done it in a basement somewhere and just, and awarded a winner and no one would have cared. But the fact that there was between like 1,500 and 2,000 people a day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, each day, like just to run through the numbers, 800 people for the calling, 400 for the battle hardened, about 160 or 170 for commoner, all the side events. It was a success in the sense that it was almost like an I told you so to everybody who thought that this was a dead in the water game, that this wasn't the real deal. The fact that it was as diverse in terms of what was shown and what was succeeding on camera means that for people who think the meta is solved, don't know jack s about what's actually going on.
You can just say it.
Can I?
Yeah, no, you fucking can.
Okay, well, when I do my podcast, I always get yelled at by my producer about like the algorithm and all that stuff. So
no, it was a condition of Az's joining that he was able to say fuck. So perfect. We're just free away.
So okay, but I will say this: that people knew jack shit about what's going on, and all those people who think that it was going to be a 1 or 2 trick pony were completely proven wrong because the number 1 seed was Kano out of nowhere.
Yeah.
The secondary aspect of this is the fact that everybody had a positive presence and a community presence. There was no animosity between groups. There was no controversy. There was no drama. People showed up. They had a good time. They did what they wanted to do. They had an overall positive experience. There were obviously going to be some negatives that bubble up and such, but for an overall experience, people left that weekend not feeling cheated, not feeling like they left anything on the table, not feeling like they did not get their worth. I paid for my flight, my hotel. The whole experience was something that I would pay twice as much for to experience it again. And that is, at least to me, the main takeaway from this was that it was a nice barometer for the health of the game and the community.
And that's definitely very rare. Not often do you find that you get the value out of a tournament like this if you don't win. So that was a very nice experience to have as a person that was in the room. Like, I felt like the money I spent mattered. As you engaged with the PT in a different way, obviously being across the water, what was it like from your seat?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, it was just the stories that came out of the game as well, like the Kanos that were represented. There was only 7 Kanos in the in the overall pie chart, and the fact that the conversion rate of that was fantastic. It was just a great story to tell. That, as Flake said, the meta wasn't solved. These wizards came out of nowhere and caused all sorts of damage. Was a fantastic story, as well as the tale of resilience from Pablo as well. The fact that he lost his first 2 games and still came back.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's the stories and those experiences that I really took away from. Albeit I couldn't be there, but it was fantastic, and well done to Flake for the awesome coverage, and all the other guys that did that as well.
I appreciate that. Again, I just want to say that I work with like some of the best, and there's obviously other people that I would love to work with, but the fact is that I've been doing this for 5-6 years, like as a career for various games, and this is easily the best, most professional, best prepared, most talented broadcast team I've ever worked with. That is not just saying that. That is the flat out truth.
Yeah, it showed. It definitely showed for all the people that couldn't be there for whatever reason. It showed on the streams and that. So yeah, epic.
Now, as I have to ask, did you stay up and watch it, or did you just like catch bits later when it was more time convenient, or were you DJing it up?
Yeah, I was DJing it up when I was. It was DJing it up.
Sure.
It was. I was streaming it in my kitchen when I was like cooking food and stuff. So that wasn't an issue at all. I could just watch it as and when.
Awesome. Elaine, my biggest regret of the Pro Tour is not meeting you and then not getting to chat with you. What did you get up to? How did you engage with it? We didn't talk at all. I've only met you via Twitter, so I'm excited to hear about how your PT went.
Yeah, Pro Tour was awesome. It was like one of the best experiences of my life. I flew on a Thursday. I got to go to like the little banquet beforehand, and I just wanted to make the most of my experience because I was like, it was a last minute thing for me to be able to go. And I like spent 2 days getting everything ready. I painted my shoes. I got my cosplay together, and I flew in. I went like literally from the airport to the banquet. I was like sweating, but I was just so happy to be there. I just felt like I was like skipping around, like trying to talk to everyone the entire time. And then the Friday I wore my cosplay, got to meet so many people, take pictures with so many people. And I was just like kind of going between side events in the Pro Tour, watching my friends play in both side events and in the Pro Tour, catching up with them afterwards. And Saturday I played in the calling, and I conceded to do the cosplay thing also. So I had to like change in the bathroom in the middle of the thing, in the middle of the calling.
Oh my God.
Cosplay, which was like hectic. But like I said, I wanted to make the most of my experience. So I did everything. Then I played in the Battle Hard, and also it was so much fun. My favorite part was definitely meeting everyone in person because, like we talked about, Fab Twitter, it feels like everyone all the time. I'm talking to everyone, getting to interact with the community. But it was just really cool to be able to meet so many of those people in person. And yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get to meet, but there's always next time.
For sure. Who did you cosplay as?
I was Icelander.
Oh, okay. So I did see the pictures. Okay.
Yeah.
Look dope.
A weird thing, I went and played in 2 ProQuest this past weekend, and my opponents, I was like, oh, I met you in New Jersey. And they're like, I didn't meet you. And I was like, oh, I was dressed as Icelander. And they're like, oh, people were like, who are you?
I met an ice woman. I didn't meet you.
Right, exactly.
Tommy,
I just want to say as well, the cosplay was awesome. And another thing that was awesome is your shoes that you made.
They're fantastic.
Thank you.
Those shoes are awesome.
Well, seeing that you handmade those was crazy.
That's
Yeah.
nuts.
I appreciate it. I love to, I'm an artist. So I paint on everything.
You paint your binders.
I paint everything. And so I was like, oh, I really wanted to throw together some shoes. I was like going back and forth. And then Flake actually tweeted out and was like, does Elaine Hamontree show up with full, like, cool painted shoes at the Pro Tour? And I was like, well, now I'm doing it 100%.
I called out.
Gotta finish up. Yep.
I like that Flake imposed all of this labor on you by virtue of a tweet. Tommy, you were the most recognizable person at the Pro Tour, if not because you had a literal signal banner to point you out. What was that like? Like you were hardcore into it all 3 days. What was that like?
Well, my chiropractor bill has not been the best ever since, but
Well, the way that
it
you
was
said
fun.
that, he makes it sound like your chiropractor's name is Bill, and he's not the best.
He's not good at for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill
doesn't
fucking
do a good
sucks.
job at
Yeah.
all.
You suck, Bill.
King chiropractor.
Bill, he just goes too hard on me, but it was a lot of
Pump the
fun.
brakes, Tommy. That was a little much.
All right, let's
That's my
relax.
job.
We're all having fun here. Yeah. But it was a good time. I've said it a couple times. Well, first of all, that if LSS was going all out, so am I. So that's why I did that, and it was a lot of fun to kind of walk around, talk to people. I still have a ton of footage to edit and whatnot, but and then also something I like to put out there into the world is don't do it for the moral of the story, do it for the story. It could have gone very poorly and it didn't, but the story's there too. But the Pro Tour was awesome. I think I was first of all blessed that it was in the greatest state in the union of New Jersey.
Oh my God.
And,
We have differences of
It wasn't in Ohio, so I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Oh fuck! Fuck Ohio! Fuck that state.
but it's. I mean, what
Matt.
is that flag?
Is that what is that? That's what my trees have. I don't understand.
I'm sorry.
But anyway,
I can't hear you over all the freedom I have, Matt. I'm sorry.
Matt's entrance music is just blame Canada.
But it was really cool, and one of the things that was kind of it's like a negative but a positive. Leaving the weekend and being like, I didn't get to hang out with everybody I wanted to, but also that's somewhat of a positive that I have so many people that I want to hang out with and that will hopefully want to hang out with me as well. That's such an awesome thing. That's just like such a great sign of a great community. And it was amazing. And I can't wait for the next thing, which I think at this point is Vegas, but yeah.
Yeah, Vegas, which will cost 3 times as much as New Jersey to go to. But no, I think
Even for me, I don't know.
Yeah, because you live in a weird airport hub area. Yeah, Vegas or New Jersey kind of set a new bar for me for what organized play looks like. Every calling, every GP, everything for every game will now be set to the bar that the PT is. And a large part of that is because of you people. A large part of that is because of LSS and the community and stuff like that. So I'm really excited to see what that goes going forward. And I think you guys made me even more excited. And it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
Oh, sorry. I just forgot that you existed.
I don't exist. It's fucking fine. I'm fat enough to have my own gravity, and you can't figure out that I'm here. Jesus, Jordan. It was an absolute blast. I really don't have anything to add. I was blessed is a weird word, but considering part of it is Flake. But to spend time with everybody, with Elaine a little bit less. It was round 1 of the calling. I turned around, I'm like, oh shit, you're Elaine. And she turned around and went, hi. I'm like, oh yeah, I talk to Melody all the time. You guys have your channel come out. She's like, oh yeah, that's cool. And then went back to crushing her opponent's soul just to concede. But I got to spend a ton of time around Tommy, just talking and getting to know people a little bit more. We had a lot of people come up to us. I got James White to endorse our copyright infringement. It was such a cool community feel. And I talked to Corbin Hostler. I don't know if he does coverage for CFB. And I've known Corbin tangentially for a very long time through Magic. And I asked him, what does this feel like to you? Because I had it in my head and I wanted to see if I was wrong because we've been in a lot of the same places. And he's like, this is GP Vegas. I'm like, correct. This is exactly how this feels. This is the vibe. And the crazy thing is that was the pinnacle of what Magic felt like in its best spot. And this is the starting point of Flesh and Blood. So the bar is set incredibly high, and I have zero doubts that it goes up. We talked about this, Jordan, the last time that we talked was we started our podcast thinking we'd do like 10 episodes, the game might be okay, and then nobody would listen to us and we'd be done. 25 episodes later, we made the comment on the last show. I'm like, I think that this is what happens in 2023, and Jordan just lost his mind. He's like, you're talking about 2023. You're talking about this game with zero consideration that it could be gone. That's out of your head. This game is here to stay. It's well built. They've built it on community. They built it on a great engine. They built it around great people. And it's so fucking hard to not be incredibly excited for everything that's coming up.
The only thing that would stifle any kind of community growth like that is poor scheduling, and that's what they call a transition.
Nice segue, asshole.
Yeah. One of the what's that?
Two beer show.
One of the recurring themes we talked about a lot was it is very frustrating at the pace at which LSS informs us of things that are happening. We found out about Vegas very briefly before New Jersey was set to launch. We've only very recently found out about the Pro Tour in France, and we still have very little details, if any, on Worlds. This is true on like the large scale perspective from Collins, but also like on the local store stuff. So I kind of want to, I don't really have any structure to this. If people want to talk about how this has impacted them personally and what kind of advice we would give to LSS or kind of feedback we would give. I know that for all of us, it's very different things. For me, it's very centered on travel and budgeting for these events. Matt, it's a very professional thing. And then I assume, even more as most events, if they're going to happen in Europe, you probably need to know about it more early than not. Right. So I don't know how.
Very much so. Yeah, very much so. For people that I think people that are actually working actual jobs outside of Flesh and Blood, I think it scheduling for us and budgeting purposes is very paramount to whether we can go to those things or not. I would say from that perspective, we do need to know what the cost is, what the time frame is, when we can do these things, so we can book holiday, because I work at just a normal office job, 9 to 5 standard, I need that for me. That would be paramount, so I can organise these things. For me personally, I don't know about everybody else.
Yeah, it's weird, and I think that if I was my ideal would be we would know about the next quarter's events. So the 3 months of events after this 3 months at the beginning of of a quarter. So at the start of quarter 2, we would know about all the events in quarter 3. So that would give us plenty of time, I think, to plan these things out. And I mentioned when we were talking about this in the chat, this also affects stores that are trying to do something different, that are trying to help grow this game by having bigger events on their own. Because they can schedule something, and now they just have to hope that LSS doesn't randomly put something up against them. Because if that happens, it's going to cut into their attendance, because those are just on-demand events. They're 1 XP, no ELO events. And some people, that's very important to some people. I think that's something they have to just get better at. I think they will. I think they're still kind of operating under some amount of COVID caution, pandemic caution. But eventually we just need to know these types of things in a much more timely manner so that people can plan.
We work very intimately with a local game store here in Ohio through the podcast, The Realm, and they are putting on a 10K here in June. And one of his biggest stressors was, back when he was originally scheduling this, what if LSS drops a calling that weekend in June as here's a release weekend calling for Uprising? That's terrifying. He's I've already invested all this money and they could just drop this. Or it happened originally with SCG Indianapolis when they made it a calling. He had a 5K originally scheduled for that weekend and was well, now I have to change this because between a calling in Indianapolis and a 5K in Mansfield, Ohio, the calling's going to win, and that's really tough from that perspective.
It stretches people thin because they can't. A lot of people are going to look at their schedules and go, I can either go to this calling or I can go to this 5K. I can't do both, even when they're back-to-back weekends. And so that still hurts for those local game stores that are trying to do something a little bit different. So I really hope we see that come out better for that reason. If nothing else, the reason I'm not, the fact that I paid under $300 for every upgrade I could possibly get on a flight round trip to Vegas in enough time, everybody be jealous. Is great, but for the rest of the known universe that isn't in fucking Iowa, which for some goddamn reason can get us to Vegas in no time, but it cost me $1,000 to get to LA. It's like that, right? You guys have had some serious woes trying to figure out that type of travel, and I feel for it because you just weren't given that much time. But I know that at least I'm going to see Tommy in Vegas. We're teaming up, which is the weirdest thing ever. Hopefully we play against Flake because at least it's a bye. And Elaine, are you going to be there?
I will be in Vegas. I don't have a team to play with, so if anyone listening wants to DM me, give me a team. I will.
That Tommy can fire the other person. It's fine.
Just to offer like another perspective on the scheduling of events, like I think 6 months would be like a good amount of time, sufficient amount of time. But also like as someone who wants to cosplay at events, just like as a hobby, it's pretty difficult to like be able to like Vegas. I have like 2 weeks I want to get a new cosplay together for Vegas, and I have like 2 weeks to do it now. So I didn't know if I was going to be able to afford it. And then it's like, okay, I can afford it. I can go to Vegas. Now I have like 2 weeks crunch time to try and get a cosplay together, which is like, if anyone's familiar with cosplay, that's like no time. People spend months.
Actual
months
zero. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I kind of ran into the same situation with New Jersey where I had like, I pretty much finished the cosplay. I had like put some work into it before, but I had stopped working on it when I realized I wasn't going to New Jersey. And then turned out I was going to New Jersey with a 2 days notice. So I had to like do the whole cosplay and the shoes in 2 days, plus like just also go to work and like live my life and have a normal life. So just, yeah, that's a new perspective on the scheduling, I think, that I can offer. Just for people who like want to cosplay and participate in events in different ways, it's still a time crunch.
Matt, is that your perspective as well from working it, or do you guys get a little bit more lead time than like the average bear? Or
honestly, I wish I could tell you that we got like, everything well in advance. It's the problem is in my estimation, and like I don't know this as a fact, or I haven't confirmed this with anyone at LSS, but I think that they're kind of at the mercy of their own success to a degree, where things are just kind of exploding faster than they can catch up with it. So they're chasing their own success in this case, and like. I had dinner with James on the Wednesday night, and we were chatting about stuff, and I kind of casually said, I'm like, hey, man, I'm like, what love are you giving Canada? Because we've got no callings, no major events, no nothing, and it'd be nice if, there's something. And I know that he had mentioned it to me back in January that Canada was on the radar, so I just wanted to sort of touch base. And he kind of opens his phone and he's scrolling through the calendar, and there was like a bajillion things on there. I didn't look, I didn't pry, but I know that he was going through it, and he's like, I think we got something. We're just working on details. A lot of it, frankly, is the fact that, you're trying to coordinate the world to come together to a degree to certain things. And Pro Tour obviously is the first order of business that you want to lock down, and then it's Worlds. And those are the major events that are going to occur. So, once you lock down those major things, and the reason why I don't think that there's a lot of these events, locked down as fast as or as soon as you want them to, is because they don't know how certain things are, venues and COVID mandates and travel restrictions. Because keep in mind, it's like they need to be there and they need to organize it, and they have to do it through like Channel Fireball or SCG or whoever's organizing the actual event. And there's so many third parties involved and venues and this and that. There's a lot going on, but I completely agree with you that there needs to be more. And I think out of everyone have the most luxury involved, because this is my career, and all I do other than this is record and the podcasts and stuff and all the other content that I make. And then it's just make sure that I have all my ducks in a row for when I do get hired. But like right now, I have no effing clue what my next job is. That's a sheer fact. And I know that Vegas is not having coverage, but I want to go. So I'm going as a fan, but I don't know if I'm going to be in Pro Tour in France. I don't even know what the next calling is going to be, or if it's going to be. So there's so much that like my concern is different than everyone else's concern, because you guys want to go to be a part of the event. And I'm more so worried of whether I'm going to be paying rent,
Sure.
For
sure.
Yeah. That's a very real concern, right?
It's totally a real concern.
Yeah, right.
Because this is part of what a lot of people don't get is like, yeah, I got paid for Pro Tour, and then what?
Right. Yeah.
So for me, it's a different level of concern, because I'm going to these events to enjoy them as well, but enjoy them in a different way. I love what I do. This is like a dream come true for me, and I've worked very hard to get to this position. However, at the same time, I live in a bubble of uncertainty where once that paycheck clears, I don't know. I have no clue what my next paycheck is. And as much as LSS likes to reassure us as casters and crew or whatever that, we're doing a great job and they want us for whatever, a lot of the times it's not their decision. It goes down to Channel Fireball or SCG, and they have to figure it out. And they don't clear these things until they need to. So I wouldn't even blame LSS for a lot of this, because a lot of the times I didn't even know, for Indiana, I didn't know that I was working Indianapolis until probably maybe 36 hours before. I was already I was on the road driving from Toronto to Indianapolis. I was going through Buffalo when I got a phone call saying, "What clothes did you bring? Because we need you to work." And I was like, "I'm stopping at TJ Maxx on the way there, I guess." So that's how that goes.
Well, that's scary.
You're saying your Spider-Man fetish doesn't pay the bills? Because it seems like it might.
Not you would be surprised what people pay to see a 36-year-old man wearing a leotard, but it is in the closet.
Well, we can test that theory.
So one of the things that worries me as a fan, because I want you to be available to do these high-end events, right? Like I want Flake to do the event, right? So
I hope so.
Right. Well, no, but I mean that.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
I mean that from the perspective of like with you, being a contractor. If another job comes through the door, you probably have to take it, and so the lack of scheduling makes it very difficult for you to turn down or accept other work, and that makes my experience worse because like I want Matt to be doing premier events, right? I want the team we had at the PT to be the voice of Flesh and Blood for life. So like the fact that impacts that does end up, it hurts you in a very unique way that most of us can't relate to.
I want to show you something real quick.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna shut up for a while. So this is my schedule as it looks like for this month, for May. Here's my schedule as it looks for next month. Nothing.
Oh, you have a lot of free time. Okay.
Yeah. So I have to. All I have to do is pencil in my flight to Vegas and back. But I got no work next month. So I'm going to be doing the podcast, and that doesn't exactly drive much revenue. But you're right, because if I had a lead time and I was guaranteed, if they said like, okay, these are the upcoming events, you've got to call these 4 callings until the end of the year. We want to hire you for these. I would just go slam them on the calendar, and then if anybody needs me for that, it's a giant fu. I'm sorry, I'm busy
doing Flesh and Blood. Yeah,
but yeah, because this is again, like I said, my career. But like at the same time, everybody, like nobody knows what's going on, so it's very unnerving for me, because every day I wake up hoping that I get an email of somebody saying, "Hey, are you free? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that?" So
making a note now that says, "How do we pay Flake?"
Well, this is a good time to plug in a little something, and then I'll shut up. It's basically like part of this whole thing is now I'm taking commissions to cast games privately, and it's an endeavor that is literally, I'm like, okay, if I get 10 this month, I can pay my rent. And like, that's a good thing because I need to pay my rent. So, it's tough.
If I could echo something that Jordan said about that, wanting Flake to do these events, and, I think it's important that we get to that point in the game, and maybe it's because you're my friend, and maybe it's because you're super talented, Flake, and then also maybe because I'm selfish. I don't want to see you doing Gwent. I don't. I want you doing Flesh and Blood. I love this game. I love you, and I want that.
Well,
so, that is, I think, a goal, because you've become quite the steward of the game as well as this broadcaster, because you could just show up and broadcast. You're very talented. You could do that, but you take the extra steps, and that's why you're such a valuable asset to this game. So, I just wanted to put that out there into the universe, because that's something that we as a community should start putting, our chips on the table, in that regard.
You're absolutely right. And I know that I said this to Flake before, and that's, I always want to brighten the lives of the people that brighten other people's lives. And Matt, that's you. I mean, your diligence to covering this game, your diligence in your interacting with the community, and then just the joy that you have whenever you're doing this job is fucking contagious.
Well, okay, so I don't want to get emotional, but like, people in my position don't get much praise. Like, we get praise when it occurs, and like after an event, it's like, hey, you did a good job. And then what they don't see is the countless hours that all of you put in. And it's not just me, but this is like the culmination of wanting to do this, that I've taken like tens of years to achieve, because I've done the internships, I've done the stage work, I've done, microphone work and interning and this for years and years and years. And like, I'm not going to cry, because I'm not going to cry, but like, I genuinely do appreciate it. And that's the one thing that I find it's like people just kind of overlook is, dude, it's a whole other conversation and a whole other podcast in itself. But like, I've had conversations with Gwen and recently, and they knew that I was their guy. And I even told them, I said, you trusted me when no one else did, and you gave me a career, and I'll never forget that. And I love you all very much. But they made decisions recently where they're just like, yeah, we might go in another direction. And I'm like, okay, like, I see how it is. Like, it's all good. Like, that's your business choice, and that's fine. And like, look, I told James, I said, I'm your guy for as long as you'll have me. And when you're not going to have me, I'll not be your guy, but I'll still be playing your game. And I just want to say, I do sincerely appreciate the kind words, because it's oftentimes, and you guys can all attest to this, a thankless job to do shit like this, because I've been there and I've done it for years and years and years, and streamed to 5 people, and then 5 became 10 and 10 became 20. I've put out videos where I got 5 views, and I did that for years and years and years. So the positivity and being saying these things, it means a lot. And to everybody who's even listening to this, just go out to your favorite content creator and just thank them because what you see, this hour-and-a-half podcast, this 2-hour podcast or whatever, there's hours and hours that go on before it, and hours that go on after it. So, and the payoff is not as lucrative as people may think. So that's all I got to say. So thank you very much for that. That's very, very kind, and I appreciate that very much.
Honestly, I'm just surrounded by goats right now, because Elaine's incredible, Tommy's incredible, Az is incredible, Jordan's medium. But it's thanks. But this is quite possibly, I told James this in New Jersey. I played Magic for 25 years, and at no point in time did I engage with Magic on a widespread community level or wanted to. Within months of starting to play this game, not even really understanding what I was doing, I knew I wanted to be involved, not just to be somebody that shows up at an event and jams some cards. And that's the special part of this game, is that there are so many people, and I'm staring at 5 of them, that want to pour more of themselves into this game. And it's just such an incredible feeling to be even in the same rectangle, I guess, as all of you. And thank you very much for everything you do. It is super important to this community. It's important to me personally. And I love you all for various reasons, as it's mostly the hair and the accent. Fuck that accent.
You too, mate.
Yeah, your accent fucks with the lights on.
The level of confidence I'll never strive to. We're going to move on. We've talked a lot about, I'm going to just try to keep nailing segues as we appreciate each other. LSS, we talk about, does a good job of appreciating, content creators and the community as a whole. Matt alluded to a little bit about feeling appreciated by James, as much as a contractor can in their position. And I think I feel that even as like a player in this game. What could LSS do to enhance that feeling, either as a content creator, a player, or a community member at large? And the thing that kind of spurred this question for me was, I don't know if anybody's familiar with Sheetz or like a Wawa. They're like a high-end gas station. They're a restaurant that sells gas.
Uh-huh.
Flake knows what a Wawa.
Yeah, I know all about Wawa because at Battle Hardened Philadelphia. Tommy loaded me up with beer, and then I puked outside of one.
Good.
I had to drop out of Battle Hardened, and then have my buddy drive me back home. Wherein we stopped, and I was like, "Oh, this is good enough places anyway." So yes, I am familiar with Wawa.
You painted a Wawa parking lot. Congratulations!
Absolutely,
I cannot wait for Vegas. This is going to be great.
Oh,
that's about as
I believe Flake texted me. He said, I just puked in a Wawa. what is my life right now? I said, welcome to America. Baby.
Yeah, USA.
You made it, buddy.
Oh my god.
So they're opening a bunch of sheets near us right now, and on their grand openings, they invite like people to come in and get like free food and drinks, and it's a way to like test their staff. And we're sitting there eating like the free food and drinks one day, and this guy comes over and he's doing a survey, and he goes, "Well, what else could we have done to make your experience better today?" And I was kind of like thought that was a weird question because they already gave me like $30 worth of like food and beverages for free, and I really didn't have a good answer. But I kind of wanted to add this in here is if LSS was giving us a survey on like what could we do to better reward content creators, players, or community members, what would you say? And I know we all feel appreciated to a large degree, and that's a very difficult question to then ask because like, you know, most of us grew up in the era of the internet where if you were a content creator, like Flake said, you did it for nothing. It wasn't like a cool tag. It was like you were a guy that maybe got some Reddit upvotes and like that was it, right? So it's really weird to live in an era where the company recognizes the content creator. But what player rewards or community rewards or anything like that, where do we see that system evolving going forward? Whether it be from, again, like the content creator side or the player side, like a player reward system. I don't have a particular order, so if anybody has any thoughts, I know that's a difficult question.
I vote Tommy.
I vote Tommy too.
Good vote.
So from a content creator side, I'm maybe not as blessed in communication with LSS as some other content creators out there, and everybody's well deserved of it. So I guess on that side of things, I would like some communication. Some open channels of communication with LSS. To me, it feels at times like maybe we don't really know what's going on and what to expect. And that's okay. It's their business and that's how they choose to run it. But I think at a certain point, hopefully we can start to get some expectations, I think, because from my perspective, it feels a little like a lot of unknown in terms of what they give back to the players. I mean, right now I guess the world is their oyster in a way. They can do anything, and we're going to be pretty happy about it. I think maybe some certain, straight to your home promos for, hey, you hit a certain goal on your ELO or your XP, or this is the first time you're doing it. I think that would be kind of cool because we have this built-in system, right, where we can go in and check our XP or whatever. And I think in the past they had given out some really cool prizes if you were the first to hit 1,000 XP in your country, which is really cool. It doesn't have to be a gold foil, but something like a thank you for playing is something really cool that they could do, right? You hit maybe 100 XP, 500 XP, 1,000 XP. You get a little something in the mail from LSS. I think that's like a small thing that's not hard to do that can go a really long way with a lot of players.
Did Magic used to do that? That sounds like a Magic Player Awards thing that was really cool and really well received. DCI points were their thing. That would be really cool in this game.
They stopped that one from my knowledge.
Long ago. Yeah.
Hasbro got their dirty little hands on the money-making machine. And
let's not. Let's just not. Like, this will... Nope. Let's not. Elaine, you got something to say. I would like to hear what you have to say.
I agree that it'd be really cool to do some kind of, like, player appreciation, thanks for playing the game, like when you hit a certain XP. I hadn't really thought about that, and I think that'd be really cool. It's hard for me to complain about anything LSS is currently doing. I've only been a part of this community for like 3 months, which is not a long time, and I've already I'm getting a preview card. They James White, when I met him, he knew who I was. He knew I had a channel coming out. He was very supportive of that. And it's it just kind of blows my mind that it's I'm already receiving recognition as such a new member of this community and someone who, I have a channel coming out, but quite frankly, I'm not even making content right now. I'm just kind of tweeting from my comfort of my own home. So I don't really have any complaints as rewarded for content creator. I might just because I'm so new, and so all of this is already awestruck to me and really awesome. But I do like the idea of the player thank you for playing type of gifts when you hit certain XP, because I didn't know that they did the when you hit like 1,000 in your country or something. And that's really cool to like get the game going. But in the long term of the game, I think it'd be cool to have a system in place where any player could achieve.
Yeah, I'm going to glare at you in doing half of a year of content creation and no preview card. But I'm not bitter. Trust me, I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter. I say fuck too much. I understand. But I think that what LSS does is super great because they do enrich and do reward the people who are kind of giving them the most of themselves to promote their game. And I think what the things they could do better maybe is just some more direct engagement. But I also know that like that company has grown super quick and they are still full of lots of new people because it's, again, Matt definitely called it where they're kind of a victim of their own success. I was on a phone call with Chris from LSS a few months ago, and he's like, I was a department of one until a couple months ago. And he was the head of organized play. And that's, holy shit, you're what? Because I think I'm up shit creek when I'm a member of a 3-person team that supports 600 people, and you're one. And there's way more than 600. So that, in and of itself gave me an understanding of the kind of uphill battle that they're facing with trying to catch up to themselves. It's never bad to have that be your problem. That have your success be your biggest problem is the best problem to have. But they will get past it, I'm pretty sure. Fingers crossed, fucking hope so. God, there it is again. You see, I say that too much. And honestly, I have every faith in the world that they will get further. And I do believe that the only reason that we don't see those types of things is because Jordan has an awful New Zealand accent. And we often insist on calling James White J-dubs on the show. So I believe it's our fault.
First of all, my New Zealand accent could pass for a native.
God awful.
As how do you feel as an EU player? Do you guys feel supported as NA people claim to be? Or do you feel like that there's a disconnect between the two regions and what they get from LSS?
No, I don't think so. I can speak from a sort of content creator perspective. I mean, I've only been doing it for a year or so, and I've been involved in both the appreciation kits, albeit my channel doesn't really have much focus as to what it is. It's it's just exploring the social aspect, the community aspects, the jank, and the fact that they can sort of appreciate different people's identities and what they love about the game. I think is a fantastic thing. Just the fact that they can send out these kits to people to just to show their appreciation. I think all the games that I've been involved with in the past and stuff, this company just does something different,
How did you feel like when they made Commoner an official format that was like speaking directly to you and like the people that experience the game the same way you do? Was that a big day for you guys?
Well, for Commoner, yeah, I think so. It's very much its own thing. But yeah, the jank side of it, the fresh perspective, the palette cleansers. I think it's a fantastic format for people just to have a little bit more fun, a little bit more experimentation, rather than just playing what should be good or what is supposed to be good. So yeah, I'm all for that going forward. I'm
glad you feel that way because I feel like with a lot of games that aren't one of like the big three mainstream, they very heavily lean into the competitive player crowd, and it's very hard for like casual players to enjoy those spaces. And that's one of the like reasons games die a lot, right? Is that like kids don't want to play it, casuals don't want to play it because it's full of spikes and not like that. So I'm kind of really glad like you exist to like foster this. Because there's not
like Ultimate Pit Fight and stuff as well. The casual games, the casual stuff, people just having a good time. That's what I'm all about, really. But yeah, it's good to see that with Fab 2.0, they're now leaning into that, and the whole statement around the fact that it's not just about the competitive side of it is just a key indicator that this game is going to blow up even further than what it already has been. And the fact I wasn't there, but we saw a lot of Commoner being played, and there was a UPF tournament where you could win a gold foil silver palms going on at the New Jersey, and the fact that people are getting involved with that and the scale of that again just goes to show that it's on a fantastic path. And I know I've detracted a lot from the actual question, but I think it's worth saying that.
Oh, agree.
It's in a good spot.
Now,
I did get to see one of the coolest things was somebody playing Shiana and UPF, and they copied a KO at the table and then crippling crushed their opponent, rolled a 6 and pummeled it.
Yeah.
That'll do it. That'll do it. I got also just two things. First, I also am glad that you exist that's just the second part is one of the things that Ellis has always been clear when communicating with me like one-on-one is that they are immensely aware of the importance of people like us. They're very much, I think I may have said this to you guys in the past in various different places, but I'm always there to say that they have said to me that they know which side of their bread is buttered. They know that they make the product, but when people see it on a shelf and they want to learn about it, they come to us. They don't go to the website. They find out, they check YouTube, they check Spotify, podcasts, etc. They know that we're the forward facing the front line for, as ambassadors for the game. And how can they improve on it? Look, I mean, I can't speak because I've been very lucky to get preview cards, to get, content creator kits and such. And I'm spoiled in that regard. And I try to, as best as possible, pay it forward and give all this stuff away as much as I can. However, I mean, how can they, I think, honestly, like you've mentioned, sometimes it's tough to get when you're a department of one. It's hard to get on board, and I know that they have been hiring to shore up some of these aspects. And one of the things that they did was hired a social media, like a marketing manager or somebody in that regard. They have like content creator sort of liaison, as it were, but it's all in development, and I think it's a matter of like 2022 was merely let's just legitimize ourselves, and then we'll sort of shore up where we need to. But when it comes down to it, I think that Flesh and Blood's primary objective was to legitimize itself, was to prove to everybody that this was a game that had legs, that had longevity, and had fundamentally was good, because it was going up against Magic, and nobody goes up against Magic. You just don't. But in a world with MetaZoos and other stuff like that, you have to essentially, solidify yourself as a legitimate game, and not just a pump and dump stock, as it were, or not just a buy and sell craze. So I get that there may be certain elements that are lacking. For instance, the janky aspect, stuff that Az is so prolific about and so involved with. You have to, I think, for the success of the game, you have to kind of, especially with limited resources, you have to pull from these other little aspects to make sure that your pro scene is established, so that you're attracting all the players to say, all right, there is a future in this, there is a career in this, there is opportunity in this if I put the time in. Because if they go in and suddenly there's there's no pro scene, there's no competitive, look what happened to Magic. Magic pulled a lot of resources and money and opportunity away from their competitive scene, and it was like the worst thing that could happen to that game. And Flesh and Blood did it the other way. They're like, no, we're going to promote our competitive scene and have armories and have stuff and all kinds of prizes, but this is what we need to nail down and show the world that we mean business. And once that coming out party is over, then we can be like, all right, let's flesh out Commoner. Let's get some rule sets for Commoner. Let's start talking about perhaps banning things in Commoner, this, that. So I think that the approach that they took may look like they're kind of lacking in certain elements, but I think it was necessary. And with limited resources that they have, I think that they put their chips on the right squares,
Yeah.
So.
It's hard to cover casual, right? Like, it's hard for casual to appeal to everybody. I mean, in a viewership way. I think it makes great content. I don't think it makes great coverage, if that makes sense. It's very important down the road, and it's been very important for Magic, for the as of the world to be as important as the Matt Rogers of the world. It's
absolutely.
as important, but that's not necessarily the starting point. Because the things that have appealed to casual first, competitive second, like Matt alluded to, have failed. They haven't started on the right spot, and it's cost them. With Magic definitely has. There's been so many pratfalls in Magic's history that it's an absolute shock at some points in time that the game has survived. And it's always survived on the back that the casual base would never quit it. And that includes through this latest pandemic where they gutted organized play. The people that kept the game going were the people that were buying Commander product. There were people that were still playing casually. But Magic was not going to keep surviving at that rate without bringing back some level of organized competitive play. Because if there's not new eyeballs, there's not new customers. That's just it. So it's very important for the game to make sure it's catering to all of its fan base. That's the Azes of the world. That's the competitive hobbyists of the world, which is what Jordan and I identify as. That's the more competitive side of the world, the Elaines and the Tommies of the world. And that's the pinnacle of coverage, which is, the Flakes of the world. These are the people that, Matt, if you're not engaged in the gameplay, your coverage is going to suffer. You can't fake it till you make it forever.
Well, that's part of it is like, I just want to throw it out there is that every successful card game has to come out of the box with a competitive package associated with it.
Absolutely.
Every single one. When Gwent, and again, I was in Gwent in closed beta at the beginning, and the reason why it flew off the shelf at the time was because it came with $1 million competitive scene season 1 thing. So everyone's like, holy shit, I'd like, screw Hearthstone or screw this, and Magic MTGA wasn't around at the time, so they're like, let's.
It also sucks. But
They just was like, if the only way that they were going to be a real player was by having that as out of the box. That is the first thing that you have to solidify. And no offense to everybody who's just playing around their kitchen table, because that is the heart and soul of this game, obviously. But that's not going to create coverage. It's not going to create buzz. It's not going to create anyone, we got how many people in here and how many podcasts? 1, 2, there's 5 podcasts in this room right now. Yeah. So if there was no pros tour and there was no whatever, how many people here would actually do it? I mean, the game's great, but let's get real. And, and the part of it is because for me and everyone else's motivation, my motivation is because this is part of my career. I love the game, but without a pro scene, for the reason of paying rent and eating food, I would have to go and seek other games. So that is how you create the culture, is by ensuring that, it's kind of like you have to create the foundation, but then build the roof and then the walls in between. It's like, it's weird. It's this weird, carpentry sorcery that you have to figure out to make sure that it's good. But you have to give it shoes and then a hat and then dress the rest. Like, so.
That's what I'm doing wrong. You have to give it the shoes first, right?
Yeah, shoes first.
Elaine has clearly demonstrated that shoes first is the correct way to do anything. So we just can relay on that example. Like, that's fine.
Guys, I haven't put shoes on in like 2 years because going outside kills you. So yeah. I think that's really where I fucked up. But one of the things that we've all played a bunch of different games. Like, nobody's first game for the most part is Flesh and Blood. Is it? Well, some people, but I think everyone here has come from somewhere else, right?
Is that true?
Tommy and Elaine, I don't know where you guys as.
I never played Magic competitively.
Thank God.
I've played casually with my friends and stuff. This is my first TCG, but I've always been super into board games, huge board games.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I come from Magic, and I don't know.
As you were a Magic person too, right?
Yeah, Magic person, Commander, mainly.
Mm-hmm.
And that was mainly sort of kitchen table-esque as well. I mean, I grew up basically. My uncle and his friends were playing Magic around a kitchen table, and I think that's ingrained in me. It's just the kitchen table setting and the social, having fun with friends. I think that's the reason I like any sort of game. Really, is just getting together with good folks and playing. But yeah, that conversation was good around the laying the foundation. Is very important, as you said. So that's enlightened me today.
Shoes are important. That was what you got out of this entire fucking call, is that shoes are important?
That's good.
God damn it, ass.
Well, I didn't mean that to be that was a better discussion, honestly, than I thought, because it was a very unfair question. I think, like Matt said a good point about, like, this game that is based on being played in the flesh and blood got started when, COVID was happening.
You literally couldn't.
Yeah, and so they've done a bunch of good things and flew off victims of their own success, as DJ Khaled would like to tell us. And, so maybe the next question then is unfair. We've all kind of came to Fab and want more draftable sets. I am a drafter at heart. When someone first told me about Fab, I said, can I draft this game? Legend of the Five Rings was the game I played before this, and there is no draft in that game whatsoever, and so that was big sad for me. But at the current rate with Fab, we're 9 months removed from Tales of Aria before we get to Uprising. Mm-hmm. I know James White said at the Pro Tour, he said during his panel with Matt, I believe, big trust and patience, and I guess what if you had your way, how would this problem be solved? I mean, I trust James White based on how everything has gone so far, and anyone that knows me knows that I don't just trust figureheads of companies very well. But I do trust when James White says, hey, just big trust, but one of the first things that I thought, and this is just a brainstorm, kicking off point, is do we just nix the idea of undraftable sets, the idea of Crucible and the idea of an Everfest, because buying a product that I can't draft hurts my heart. Cracking boosters for no value hurts me.
I want to quick get into this because I have a tendency to droll on, but everybody has their Fab origin story, right? Everybody started somewhere. And for me, it was a friend of mine saying, have you heard of this game? I'm like, I tangentially, and then went on Facebook and saw them advertising an Armory. What the hell's that? And so show up, and they do a learn to play real quick, and they're like, and we're drafting WTR. And I'm like, I love drafting. Let's do that. Went 2-1 in the draft and was hooked, largely because first card I read was Drone of Brutality. I went, what the fuck is this? Does this just mean it never goes away? And the person was like, yes. And I'm like, I guess I need one of these then. And then opened another one, had the double drone deck, and was very hard to kill. So, spoiler alert, that card is busted. And so drafting was my immediate first love of Flesh and Blood. And some of that is because and I want to be very clear here, the WTR draft format is an absolute 1000% certified fucking banger of a draft format. It rivals the best Magic draft formats. It is intensive. It is... it rewards good play. It rewards strategy. It rewards planning. It is incredible. I want more of that. But I don't necessarily believe that getting rid of supplemental sets is a good thing. I feel like the supplemental sets are there to make sure that nothing gets out of hand, that we can keep fleshing out heroes that don't necessarily have the right amount of support. Does that happen with Everfest specifically? No, not really. Hi, Starvo. Or as Matt would say, why Starvo? But I think that they are necessary for growth, but I would like to see more draftable sets and have them tied to Pro Tours. I think that that's the missing component.
I would agree. And, this is something that I think about a lot. I love drafting too. I only drafted in Magic. I did not do any constructed. That's outside of when I first started to play. So the drafting in Flesh and Blood has been so cool, and just and I love WTR as well. But I'll say Tales of Aria. I'll jam that still.
With the errata specifically.
yeah. But and I think we're coming up on Uprising, right? And there's a lot of talk, and even Flake and I have talked about it. Why is there no fourth hero? Yada yada yada. And I think we're getting to a point now that I think they're figuring out how they want drafts to be going forward. And I think that takes a lot of testing. Obviously, we know they have a really small testing team based on what we've seen, and that is fair. It's a small company. I'm pro small business, and I like that. So I like to see what Uprising gives us, and I hopefully it gives us somewhat of a like a blueprint for how we experience Flesh and Blood draft going forward. And ideally 2 sets a year would be perfect, right? You know, because we did get Monarch and Tails in 1 year, right?
I want 3.
I want a million, but like I think 2 is fine. You know, in early stages of the game, the supplemental sets, yeah, I wish they were draftable too, Jordan. I totally agree. I hate looking through a 10 card pack. I'm like, what's this? You know,
It was a pack for ants. Yeah.
So, you know, hopefully this Uprising release and the draft format is kind of sets a precedent for going forward. And I trust James White too. You know, if it means anything.
Just for the record, a million sets a year is about 2,740 sets a day. So
He's out here with receipts doing the math. Okay.
yeah, just saying. So
So we need to fire at least one draft right now to hit our quota. So we should get going.
Yeah, Tommy, you might be a little bit unreasonable. Just saying. Handsome,
All right.
unreasonable.
Thank you. I'll take the hint.
Gotcha.
Tommy is the most demonstratively good-looking person in Flesh and Blood, I think.
It's crazy. I'm just saying.
He's on the list, that's for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
Az is right fucking
Az is
here.
right.
Yeah, Az is...
Oh god.
Obviously,
Yeah.
it's the cosplay component because, I mean, if you've seen Elaine and Icelander, it was incredible. So it's like, okay, well, there's a lot going on here, and I just understand I'm dog shit, so it's fine.
Now, this is a weird thing to say about somebody not in the room, but how hot Hayden Dale is unacceptable to me as well.
It is unacceptable.
Yeah.
A
Like-
sturdy individual. When I met him, like we talk all the time, like online and whatever. But when I met him, I said, "God damn, you're sturdy." I'm like, I have no other word than sturdy.
And like when I met Dalen, and we're roughly the same size, and I walk up to him like, we are not the same. We're literally not the same. This is just
Like-
unfucking fortunate. Nope.
Dude, Dalen is 6'3". Okay, you can go to the Tampa Bay Bandits roster.
6'1".
Sorry, 6'1".
6'1", 341.
6'3" on Tinder. 340. He's a sheet of mass.
And I asked him, I said, dude, like, how much of this is like Vince McMahon billing?
Yeah, sure.
No, dude, when I met him in Philadelphia, like, first thing, I was like, all right, where is he? I'm like, it's that eclipse over there that's just like hovering over.
Human.
Exactly. And he's like, hey, Flake. And it's just like, and like you're
engulfed.
Yeah, and it's like hugging a Volvo. I was like, Jesus, freak!
Yeah.
Like it's all muscle. And then
that scene out of Independence Day where the shadow goes over the city.
Mm-hmm.
That's him going to the feature table, exactly, with his prism deck.
I'm like a 320-pound marshmallow, and then there's this 340-pound chiseled out of fucking granite human, and I'm like, on paper, I'm smaller than you. And then in real life, you are an Adonis, and I'm an outhouse. This is fantastic. I'm super happy. And he just runs up to me because I'm in the stupid fucking hockey jersey. And he's like, I can find you anywhere! And I'm like, that's great. Dalen just wraps me up like I'm a quarterback ready to die.
And
I'm like, well, thank you.
You can find him, too, because like
it's real
wherever,
easy.
It's wherever space-time bends the most. That's usually where he is.
Correct.
I just want to throw it in there about the draft sets. I agree with you. I don't have any inside information on that, but I do believe that they are still kind of figuring things out. Because I honestly believe that 4 hero drafts is not that great. I think it's cool. Don't get me wrong, because if all things work out, you got a pot of 8. Everybody sure drafts 2 people. You're fighting for cards. Part of the joy of it is actually fighting for the cards and reading the runes of what's coming around and going around and such like that. But I feel like eventually you get to a point where if you're indecisive or there's too many people fighting for certain cards, the decks are not that great with 4 heroes because they're too diluted. I feel like 3 is the magic number, and I do genuinely hope that they do. I think what they're on their future sort of marching orders are going to be is that it's going to be draft set, supplemental, draft set, supplemental. And I think that if they time it correctly, they can drop the draft, like the supplemental set, sometime in like October, November, so that it does shake up whenever Worlds are. Because in my estimation, in my assessment, Worlds is the top tits of what Flesh and Blood will be. I believe that being world champion is not necessarily going to be the same as being Pro Tour champion. That's just my assessment. If you're world champion, you are the best. It's going to be a smaller field. It's going to be, the best of the best from whatever countries. But if you drop that supplemental set ahead of Worlds, it shakes up the meta, and it also creates a situation where it's like, all right, are you the best? Because here's a brand new landscape for you to go ahead and plant your flag in and show us why you're the best. Not because you played this deck 100,000 times and you know exactly all the matchups, and you're going to you might change like 4 or 5 cards from what you're used to. No, here's a brand new effing thing that might actually call in new heroes that you didn't even think of. Mm-hmm. And that is going to be the true, barometer of who the best is. So I think that it should be like new set in like end of Q1. You go to all the pro quests, you have a pro tour, mm-hmm. you drop another one ahead of Pro Tour 2. And then the supplemental is going to be there. And I also believe that limited or draft or sealed, probably draft. I think draft should be part of Pro Tour.
Yeah,
completely agree.
My shot call is Yuki Lee Bender wins Worlds. That's
100%. I agree. Hey, all the way from the beautiful Great White North, she is a fucking dynamo.
Actual incredible.
Yep. So, do you guys want to do a Pro Tour Fantasy League with me that I'll run?
Oh, absolutely.
I'll run a Fab Pro Tour Fantasy League like we used to do for Magic Pro Tours.
Yeah,
so,
we used to, and there was some cash involved sometimes.
Yeah, so we can
I draft Tommy Fresh with my first overall pick.
That's
all right.
That's okay.
I 102 take Hayden Dale. Matt's an idiot. Next. All right.
Whoa. All right.
I'm just kidding.
I would honestly be
something.
I'd honestly be all about that. If you guys are doing kind of like we like the casters all ahead of time, even before matches. Not like we're putting any money down or anything, but we're like, all right, I got this guy. It's like, all right, I got this guy.
Yeah,
and that's how it goes. But the fact is that there's like an unspoken rule where Tannen always takes Tarek because Tarek and him are like friends.
Right,
in real life.
They're close. Yeah,
and I always take Yuki because Yuki is a Canadian like myself, and she's also like stupidly good at the game.
Yeah, Yuki almost always plays at like some level of handicap because playing Ranger is a level of handicap.
Navigates it so well, doesn't she?
Oh, so incredible to watch. It's insane.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, okay. This is how a real person with a brain that works at 1,000% capacity would do what I'm trying to do. Wow, I feel like a moron.
Her demeanor is like the goddamn Terminator. There's no breaking her.
Nope. It is full on coming for your soul 100% of the time, and
it's awesome to watch.
I'm here for it. To be honest, I'm in awe.
There are also people that when you watch them play the game or hear them talk about it, you realize how bad you are at it. And Yuki is one of those people for me that I watch play and I go, this line wasn't even on my top 5 lines to make. And here she is like dominating these stupid nerds with this line, and like that's the hallmark of something that excites me. But yes, we will do a Fantasy Pro Tour draft ahead of France because
we'll do it live.
Maybe, I don't know.
I think we're doing it live.
We're doing it live.
Well, I guess
we're doing it live.
I guess we're doing it live.
Are you in? Are you doing this live?
I'm in. I went in. Yeah.
All right,
Elaine's in.
We can make the entry fee like a couple of promos or something, and then we'll set it up like we did old Magic Fantasy Pro Tour drafts, and then it'll be great. I'm excited.
As is in. I can tell as is in.
Here's what we do.
I'm always in.
Here's what we do. We all like submit kind of like a little piece of a prize or something, like a promo card that we won or something cool. And then we get some of the viewers or the listeners to basically, we kind of like, they all pick one of us as kind of like back a horse. And then whoever wins will get those prizes, and those prizes then go to the people
I like that a lot.
That's awesome.
Because no offense, I mean, yeah, we like prizes prizes for us, like we get the friendship is the prize. But I think it'd be
like
pretty
school
cool.
us and fucking Pro Tour draft is the prize.
Dude, if we can get like a roster of like, I don't know how many people are going to be at Pro Tour France, so there's going to be tons, but if we can get like 10 people on this and everybody like picks 4 names, I think that's not bad.
That'd be awesome. That'd be really fun.
I'm in. I think that we can find probably 5 other people or 4 other people pretty easily too. We all know a lot of people that like to put their money where their mouth is, and their mouths are quite everywhere. So,
well,
I mean, like,
come on, do it, Flake. You want to.
Well, I don't know. A lot of that was erased from memory. It was Battle Hardened in Philadelphia, and Tommy was there and said, "Hey, that's the beer I sell." And then That's what he's like.
Shit.
This is all a business expense. I was like, oh Lord.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that was definitely. Like I said, I survived 3 rounds of Battle Hardened and then had to drop because it was either that or get DQ'd for vomiting all over a table. So
at SCG Columbus, I need Tommy's beer to be sold at this venue, and
we do sell in Ohio. So
what do you represent?
who do you vend for?
Trogs out of Hershey, PA.
Oh,
okay.
I was drinking some of your stock. Because you brought it for Cody. Yeah. Yep, that happened. It was good.
Yeah, that Philadelphia was the. Is he going to last more rounds in the Battle Harden or more rounds at the bar? Was I guess the real.
I think I put back like 6 or 7 pints.
Good for you.
Not bad.
I'm just saying.
Not great for you, but good for
I
you.
typically drink in liters when we're doing that, but that's fine.
Hey, now you're speaking my language.
Oh, there we go.
There's a place in Columbus that you serve yourself. You get like a wristband, and when you go up to like the taps, you like put your arm against the wristband, and like that's dangerous because like there's nobody going, hey, that's $4. You just go that's free. That's free, right? You know.
I definitely. Oh, go ahead, Elaine.
You usually get charged by. So the 2 bars that I manage in Baton Rouge are actually self-serve tap rooms as well. But like, do they charge you by the ounce? Because that's how we do it.
They do. That's how ours do it. And then the cool thing they have
people off at like 64 ounces, and then like make sure they're okay.
Oh, really?
How much is a kilo?
One of the things that's cool about this place is on your way out, you can just throw your band in a bin and then auto tip 20%, and like that's pretty cool. So you don't have to like stand in line to like cash out because like
I was in one in Chicago and I taught my buddy how to play gin rummy like that night, and he thought he was very good at it, and that's because I was making him think he was very good at it. And then he's like, we got to play for something. Like, we can just play for our wristbands, and whoever loses, their wristband pays for everything. And he's like, deal. That was a bad idea. That cost him about $400.
You shark! You absolute.
That's good credit card game
for the bar bill I was about to do.
That's good credit card game. All right, well, let's get people out of here. We're all busy people, and we have clearly gone off the rails. This is a thing that Abby wouldn't have let happen.
Yeah, this is why Abby exists, is to make sure Jordan and I stay good.
If you haven't heard of some of these people before, please go check them out. I'm going to give them an opportunity right now to tell you where they can find more of you guys. Tommy, where can people find more of you on the internet, man?
So I have the Fresh and Buds podcast. You can find me on Twitter at FreshBudsPod. You can. A lot of you guys are. I think everybody here is in my Discord too. The Buds. That's like what it's all about. Just being buds with people. So you can check that out. It's in my link tree at my Twitter. And then the podcast you can find anywhere on any platform. And I'm actually I think I have an article coming out this weekend, which I'll be promoting whenever it comes out.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, Matt. What about you? Where can people find more Matt?
Well, let me just start this off real quick by saying that I do sincerely appreciate all of you and everything you guys do, because it's awesome. I said this earlier, but you guys are the heart and soul of the game. It's just the fact that everyone who plays obviously as well, but let's get real. Everyone has their own flavor and their own thing that they enjoy, and there's stuff out here for everybody. And like I said, there's 5 podcasts represented in this one room, and what I love about this that I'd never got in any other field that I've or other games or whatever that I've dipped my toe into is the fact that things like this happen, and there's no animosity. It's not a competition, it's a community, and that is something that I just cherish so much. So I love you guys immensely, and that'll never change.
Love you.
Thank you. Actually, on another podcast that we did, Tommy and I, to quote Tommy, a rising tide takes a village to build a tree, is what he said.
What the actual fuck does that mean?
What in the mid-eastern hell does that mean?
That's what Tommy said.
We were on another show maybe in a couple of hours after I got up at 5:30 to go on Melody's Spaces, so I was a little loopy.
Keeping them Australian hours, yeah.
I do New Zealand, but I do love blaming Melody as much as possible since she's not here to defend herself. So good job, Tommy.
That's what I do with Elaine, but she's here, so I can't do it. So
she's right there.
You called her a cheater anyway. What the hell?
I know, right?
Exactly. Cheating and here to take the blame. But no, in this case, yeah, it was funny because I think Tommy was trying to pieced together a bunch of different sayings, and that's what it came out as. I'm like, let me clean this up. Let me paraphrase Tommy Fresh here. A rising tide takes a village to build a tree. So it was wonderful.
Wonderful.
My podcast is the Instant Speed Podcast, and you can catch that on youtube.com/983media, which is the media house that houses my content. And yeah, I'm also, this is another opportunity. If you want Flake to cast one of your matches, and you can go check me out on Twitter @WatchFlake. There's some details there. It's a pinned tweet, but that's that's out there. Part of my business is I don't do many things well, but I can use my mouth, and I will stop speaking right now. Yeah.
Yeah, well, all right. Az, how about you?
So I'm Az from Go Again Gaming. YouTube is the best place to find me, and I'm on Twitter quite actively at the moment because the community is so awesome, and that's Go Again Gaming AZ. And what I haven't mentioned, and I will mention on this podcast, is that I'm doing my own podcast recently. Filmed the other episode, the first episode the other day with Red Zone Rogan Bill from the Spike Feeders, Living Legends podcast. It's going to be called. So yeah, looking forward to just speaking about all things Flesh and Blood, not just the competitive side, but all things on that podcast. So if that tickled your pickle, then go and have a look at that.
We did it again.
Elaine. Elaine loves pickles.
I do. I
what was
love
it?
pickles.
Okay.
I was
That's
wondering what I was about
my
then.
thing is I always have like pickles with me at tournaments.
Pickles are wonderful.
Yeah.
Pickles are an abomination to food,
What
but
the fuck is wrong with you? Who are you?
Oh, that's
Lovely.
they belong.
I don't know what's going on in Ohio.
They belong exclusively on a fried chicken sandwich, and outside of that, they should be in the garbage can.
Have you ever squared off? Like it's like your X1 bracket, you just square off, and someone just like jacks open a jar of gherkins. Is like, all right, let's do this, and you're like, you know what? I'm good. Don't touch my cards.
It's a strategy.
So you said jack open a gherkin, and that can mean so many fucking things that I'm just going to go ahead and say that this is no longer a family podcast.
If there's
never mind.
if there's anything I've learned from this show is that sexuality is definitely a spectrum, and jacking open gherkins, and I think Hayden Dale's hot, and I've got a lot to think about.
It is hot. Get
It
real.
is-
Dude, okay, so let me right.
Unbelievably hot.
So you see a guy's face on the YouTube, and you think like, okay, well, maybe that guy just like doesn't have the body that matches the face, right? Like sometimes that happens. But Hayden Dale is 10 to 10 top to bottom. Like that dude is a snack.
We all
Anyway,
climb that tree. Every single one of us would climb that tree.
oh my god, yeah, like
I wanted him to cradle me like a baby when I was like,
God,
like,
yeah.
oh my god,
Transcends sexuality.
that man can take my wicket any day. Like let's
He will
just
give you sixes until you
Sticky
die
wicket.
from it. Yeah.
all right, Logan, plug us
Oh,
so
shit.
that I can plug me and let's get the fuck out of
We
here.
got Elaine
Oh,
first.
wait, what about Elaine?
Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry, Elaine. I got so excited by
Fucking hell,
pickles.
Jesus Christ.
I got so excited by pickles and Hayden Dale.
What?
I am Hamontree on Twitter. My last name is not as complicated as people like to make it sound. It's just ham on tree. Okay, 3 words, ham on tree.
Sounds like something Fresh and
People
Blood
call
would
me,
say.
yeah,
Then we
yeah.
did it.
Like bacon on bush, pork on strawberry. Those are
Holy
ways
fuck.
to remember it. Those are what I got called in high school. These things.
Holy shit.
It's just ham on tree. And then I have a podcast coming out with Melody, and that'll be.
Is it called Bacon on Bush? Because I'm pretty sure that that's not okay.
We killed Tommy.
No, it's the Pitch Perfect
I assassinated
Flesh
Tommy.
and Blood podcast. So
that's not coaching.
That's fair.
You know.
What was it? I'm
What the
sorry.
pickles are.
it's the Pitch Perfect Flesh and Blood.
Okay, I saw that you guys had a
Yeah,
contest to name it, so that was pretty cool.
It's such a perfect name.
Yeah, it's very
I'm
good.
excited about it.
Logan?
Now you need me to plug? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm at Logan Peterson. Again, my name is not that complicated to spell. It is Petersen, as most people that are human would spell it, but Jordan misspells it every time he tries. Also on Twitter talking, and we are part of the Flesh and Pod podcast. That's at FleshPod on Twitter. Also, make sure that you are, anytime you're looking for some sweet cyberpunk gear, hitting up Neomachi, and then just go to Az for that, because that's the best place to find that shit.
Oh, cheers, man.
Yeah, I mean, I got this coat, and it's just dope as shit. I bought my wife one, too, and she just absolutely loves it. So I've got this dope bomber jacket with, like, this neon fucking tiger on it, and I'm like, God, if only I was a more attractive human, I could pull this off.
Send me a picture with you wearing it so I can.
I can do that.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
Carry on.
absolutely. So for anybody that wants to, please join our Discord. We are very much so in each other's Discords a lot of the time. I'm in the Buds Discord a lot. Tommy shows up in our Discord. Flake kind of just goes wherever, man. He is a Discord vagabond.
Yeah, I try to have my own Discord. I just don't care enough, honestly. And no offense, like it's just I don't feel I'm newsworthy enough for people to want to rally around me and my stuff. So I'm more so of somebody who'd rather just.
You see, I understand that feeling, and that's why I built an existential dread channel in our Discord called Kierkegaard's Corner, the father of existentialism. And we see some real dark shit in there, so we make it subscriber only. You have to opt into that fucking channel because it gets real in there. So if anybody has a weak heart, then please ignore that one. But for the rest of it, please join the Brews with Reinar or Cooking with Reinar, Brews with Bravo channels to just talk about the fun stuff. Jordan, do you have anything else you want to say?
You can find me on Twitter at I'm Jerman. Tweet a lot about cricket right now. Cricket and American politics and the hellscape that is the United States. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for coming. This has been great.
And that flag just looks better and better every time.
Yeah, really. Can we get married, Flake, so that I can emigrate?
Jesus Christ. Dibs.
Absolutely.
Like, how many marriage offers have you gotten in the past 24 or 36 hours? I'm curious.
I mean, I'm not far from like the border, like on Niagara, like so you just cross through. Yeah, I got friends from Buffalo that come here all the time, and I have to be like, you have to go home now. So,
but why?
We want to stay.
I want to be able to go to the hospital for free.
Open invitation, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to come visit, you're more than welcome. And just ask not creepily, and we're good.
All right, well, thank you guys very much. We're going to get out of here. Please go check out my friends. We'll see you next time. Bye.